Lexington, Kentucky is perhaps not the most obvious place for an internet startup company, but thanks to the prevalence of broadband throughout the USA, location is no longer an issue.
Started Fark in 1999 as kind of a joke for friends of mine, basically, and they just told other people, and it kind of went from there. So the idea initially was it would be a clearinghouse for like weird and strange news, but it turned out we accidentally tapped into something because it seems like pretty much all of mainstream media now runs off of this stuff.
So what issues did you have in setting up an internet-based company here in Kentucky?
I mean, it wasn't too bad, at least initially, but the problem was there's people here who can do the technical stuff, there's infrastructure for the internet, there's all kinds of small business help if you need it, but the one thing that we don't have is expertise on how to run large-scale media sites. Not that we would. Why would that exist here? That doesn't make any sense. There was a lot of advertising available in 1999 when I started, but I wasn't even thinking about that. We didn't have the traffic. 2000, the dot-com bubble burst, and now all of a sudden there's no advertising. There really wasn't any advertising available up until about 2005, 2006. Whenever MySpace sold, that's when it all started coming back. And we ended up getting lucky enough to partner with Maxim Magazine, who started selling us as if we were one of their properties. And it was interesting how hard it was for them, even knowing how we worked and how to try to sell the property and try to convince other media buyers. But it turns out that there's a number of reasons why, based on the way that media buying works in New York City. Luckily, since we were around that for about 3 years, we learned how to do it ourselves later on. Nobody who works for Fark has to live here, and in fact, it's only me and one other guy. There's 6 employees, and they live in Atlanta and San Francisco and Indianapolis and New Jersey, just right outside of New York. So you wouldn't have to live here, but it does help, especially for coding, to be able to just kind of look over somebody's shoulder and say, hey, what's going on, every once in a while. There are a lot of actually really good high-end people available here in this town. Like if I suddenly had enough money to hire 10 more tech guys, I know exactly where to find them. They're here. What's missing is local funding. There's not a real understanding of what a business you should invest in on the tech level even looks like. To give you an example, I know a couple guys that are starting to do a tech incubator just a few blocks down the street. And they're trying to get $250,000 worth of investment, and they're having absolutely zero luck whatsoever. But there's a lot of money in this town. It is here. But people really don't understand exactly how that all works. And then the other end of the spectrum is the experience to know how to run something of that magnitude if it actually did take off. It doesn't exist here either. And one interesting thing that happens is that a lot of people aren't aware, but like if you go to Silicon Valley and get some investment from them, usually the number one thing at the top of the list you have to do is move to Silicon Valley, which would mean that if these guys down the street don't find the investment here, go to Silicon Valley, get lucky enough, then they have to leave. There really isn't any reason for that I can tell, other than those VCs just want to keep those guys close, but they don't need to be. You could easily plant the entire thing here, no problem. All the servers are hosted 3 blocks away from where we're sitting right now. If we were like super huge, our bandwidth is very small. Like if we're running like a video hosting company, probably couldn't do it from here. But you don't have to anymore. You can just contact somebody, contact Akamai or any other cloud server system, and just throw it up there, and you're done. And you can still just run it out of wherever you happen to be.
So where are you going to take Fark now? What's the direction for the company?
The thing seems to be working for the most part, so it's really more of a trick of expanding it out, making the obvious changes to the system, like, for example, adding a little bit more of a social component to it. And I don't mean, like, interfacing with Facebook and Twitter and all that crap. I really mean, like, there's a certain baseline feature set everybody expects now as a result, and so adding that into our own site. And then maybe anything that kind of would work as an offshoot. For example, a lot of times we'll link to articles where if somebody had asked one more question, it would have changed the entire point of the article. And usually it would be like, to give you an example. So about a month ago or so, there was a billboard that appeared in Los Angeles, and it said, "Are you a virgin?" And it had a phone number. Now, somebody in the news media called it or was contacted by a PR person and hooked up with people who were actually doing a promotion for a Will Ferrell movie. I personally believe it happened the other direction. But I don't know. Are you a virgin with a phone number on it? It's a slow news day. I could see it maybe. Well, they said there were 70,000 people that called, and that was the story. Well, really? You're taking the word of the guy whose job it is to be the PR for the movie. Can anybody else corroborate this? I don't believe there are 70,000 virgins in Los Angeles, so I'm not really sure that's possible. So, one more question. Is this really real, or is this really just a guy trying to plan a story so everybody knows this movie's coming out? That kind of thing.
This is Guy Daniels for Connected States of America in Lexington, Kentucky.